that I just thought, oh, man, I literally just almost died.
This day just had that feel like every wave coming in was the wave of the day.
There was like a glass ceiling that was just shattered, and the next thing you know, it was like 10 levels up. Like, this is the experience I've been waiting my whole life for.
Hey, Laurie, thanks for jumping on the late drop, mate. Appreciate your time, and been wanting to chat to you for a while now, and I'd like to sort of take it back to when you're a kid, because I know you live in Yamba, and is that where you were born? Did you grow up in northern New South Wales, like born in Yamba and grew up and stayed there your whole life?
Yeah, I am. I'm lucky enough to be. I was born in Maclean Hospital, and now they don't do births there now, and that's right by Yamba. And the first part of my life, I lived at a little country fishing town called Brooms Head. It's just south of Angourie, and then when my parents split up, we moved to Angourie, and basically just between Angourie and Brooms Head as a kid, and born and raised in this area, and I'm pretty privileged to get to be born here.
I'm familiar. I was born in Coffs Harbour, so not far down the road, and I used to travel up that coast. One of my fondest memories is when I was in my early teens, was surfing Angourie Point, and at that stage, I don't know how big it was, but it felt big, like when you're a kid. It's like 8 feet, 10 feet or something. Maybe it wasn't even that big. I have no idea, but I went out and snapped my board, and I was just so proud that I'd snapped my board, I thought I was charging or something, but there's such good waves, and that part of northern New South Wales is such a special place. And even to this day, especially I moved to the Gold Coast when I was 18, but understanding what the Gold Coast is, and then being able to just drive even 5-10 minutes from Snapper to Fingal, and it's like a different world. It's completely just slows down. Everyone's more relaxed. There's just less crowds, and that stretch from the border there at Tweed to all the way down there to Coffs, Foster, Port Macquarie is such a cool place. I mean, it's obviously it's gotten more busy. Everywhere's gotten more busy, but still it's still pretty mellow compared to places like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the whole world's getting busier, so when you worry about crowds and that, I guess you got to just turn a blind eye to it.
Totally.
Yeah, but yeah, pretty lucky for sure.
What was it like growing up there? Was it? I mean, obviously, if it's anything like my upbringing, it was sort of everything revolved around the water. Fishing, going out with a hand spear, and the rivers, and just surfing, all that sort of stuff.
It's exactly the same. And as kids, it was obviously a little bit quieter than today. And, it didn't matter what age you were hanging out with kids 5 years older than you and kids 5 years younger than you. So you're always getting pushed in some way. And the community, there's a couple nice little towns here close to Angourie. Where I live now is Woolaway, just behind Angourie, and there was always a bunch of kids there. And my mum's house was a bit of a meeting place at Angourie, because all the kids from Woolaway, where I live now, which is just a couple of kilometres inland on the lake, they'd all come and leave their boards at mum's, and basically we'd just be everything would revolve around the ocean, and just catching up with all your mates. Obviously back then there was no phones or anything, and you'd have to run around the whole town and ride around to everywhere to find one friend, sort of thing. So it was a pretty outdoor lifestyle, and like you said, the waves when you're a kid here seem pretty powerful. We get pretty raw ocean, and directions, every direction that hits our sort of reefs and stuff do different things. So it's a little bit like a small version. How Hawaii seems like the waves are quite raw, and if a wave comes in the wrong angle, it's wrong. Well, we've really got that similar feel, but in a obviously much smaller, weaker version. But I think that's what helped me surfing big waves, because when I was young, 12 to 14-year-old kid, and like you said, you paddled out the point when I was 6 or 8 foot and snapped your board. I would have looked at waves on reef breaks around here 4 to 6 foot, thinking it was 15 foot. So I guess that's what helped, having those pretty raw style waves, and all different types of waves around here.
Yeah, it is amazing. Like Angourie, that whole section of coast has, I was thinking about it earlier, just sort of thinking about some questions about you, and I was like, it seems like, a place grooms the surfer, like where, obviously look at like guys like Mick and Joel, right? Like, and Dina, and everyone that comes from Snapper, and that, like, their point break game and their style is phenomenal, right? And then
for sure.
If you guys have some point breaks, you have like some slabs, you have some reefs, like you have like a real array of different types of wave, and and you've really excelled at a bunch of those different style waves. So growing up there definitely helped groom you into the surfer that you become.
Yeah, for sure. Like I've never been addicted to one style of surfing. Say, I guess I enjoy my small waves just as much as big waves if it's right and good, and then I guess the big waves, the rewards obviously a lot greater, but I definitely enjoy all styles of waves. And as I get older, I'm really appreciating just continuing to be able to surf anything and have fun in anything. So yeah.
And then so if you were living with your mum, then who was sort of when who took you under your wing to go surfing? Was you just following your friends? Your mum like sort of would push you down there?
Yeah, we're always a beach lifestyle family from a toddler. I was I remember my mum saying when we're living out Broom's Head, I think I was only 2 years old, and I escaped because I'm the youngest of I got 3 older brothers. So I remember I bailed and walked down the back beach track, which is 600 or so meters down this track, and she found me playing in a puddle down there on my own at 2 years old. So it's always been a beach lifestyle. And my dad was he was pretty into his like scuba diving and spearfishing and diving and stuff as when he was younger, and just thought he worked on ships and basically had the ocean lifestyle. But my mum also, she's from Cronulla on the beach, and moved up here at a young age, and again the beach lifestyle, she loved that and hasn't left the coast. But then when my parents split up, I basically, me and my Huey, my next oldest brother, we moved to Angourie with my mum, and that's where I really got a taste for surfing, because Angourie being a surf community, I just remember watching all the older guys going on surfboards, just going, I really want to do that. At that stage, I bodyboarded and didn't have enough money to get a surfboard, and eventually my mum bought me $100 surfboard, and that's where it really just took off for me. I already wanted to do it, but couldn't get my hands on it almost as a young kid. I was always in the ocean on bodyboards and borrowing surfboards, and as soon as I got my own surfboard, it was just an everyday thing. And we lived, right by Spooky Beach, so I was lucky enough to just run a couple 100 meters down the road and jump into the perfect little training ground. And I guess once a few years on, my mum met Dave Batty Trelaw, who's passed away now, but he basically was a bit of a father figure to me, and as you know, he's part of the Morning of the Earth generation and all that sort of thing. So he in some way definitely took me under his wing and helped me just understand the ocean and read the ocean more. Back then, I guess I was into competitions, and competitions was kind of everything as a young kid. And he didn't teach me in how to surf or anything. He just really taught me how to read the ocean. Even with he was a professional fisherman, so and I just absolutely loved fishing as a kid, and I still do it now when I want to get a feed of fish or whatever. And even just being on the ocean in a boat all the time and reading swells, like no one around home would ever call a wave coming from out in the ocean as early as Dave would. He'd just be like, here it comes, look at the horizon, and you'd be like looking way out going, what am I looking at? Like so for reading the ocean, he was a really big part in where my surfing is, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing. I always say that I think that fishermen, like, you know, guys that spend the surf as well, but also surf and fish, have some of the best read on the water, hands down. Just, you know, the currents, the way that like ripples look, and I mean, even like birds and the clouds, and it's, you know, they just have such a good read on the water, and it makes sense, you know, if he was able to, you know, teach you that, because you have a really, you know, from what I've seen and what I understand, you have a really good read, and, you know, from your towing days and, you know, all that sort of stuff, you have a good read on the water. So I was wondering, like, so you're saying you've done contests and that, so when did that start? Like, when did like you start to get into the comps, and at what age, and how long did it take until, you know, because you guys had some good surfers. I mean, you know, Dan Ross and the Foxes, and, you know, there was a really good lineage of surfers out of your area. So I'm guessing you were looking up to them and seeing these guys. So I was wondering when that little, you know, twinkle in the eye came, like, man, you know, like, I love surfing. I'm maybe doing good in contests, and maybe I want to be a pro surfer. Yeah,
for sure. Well, it all sort of started, obviously, like you said, I'm surrounded by really great surfers, and guys a little bit older that were doing really well. And so I was always watching really good surfing, and it just was, obviously I really wanted to surf. Like I just said, I got my first surfboard, and it was just took off from there. But I basically just started doing the local board riders, which was, you know, 12, 10 or 11, I guess. And then the first competition I did was the Rusty Gromfest at Lennox Head, and it's just up the road. So, and kids come from overseas back then to do that contest. It was a huge Grommy contest, and I went up there and won it. So my age division, and basically from then on, I got the little taste of winning, obviously, and competition. And then Billabong come along and started giving me some clothes and all that sort of thing. And then it kind of just took off from there. I started doing state titles, and it was really, as a young kid, it was really contest, you know, oriented. Like, everything was around the contests, and there wasn't many free surfers back then. There was just sort of Margot and Rasta, and I mean, the big wave thing, there wasn't probably heaps of money for just big waves as well. So I guess the you know, throughout my whole teens, I was really focused on competitions, and I was like set on, you know, I'm going to do the QS, and I want to qualify, and blah blah blah. And while I was doing all this, Dylan Longbottom, I didn't have a board shaper as a young age. It wasn't until about 16 or so, and Dill sort of started shaping me a few surfboards, and you know, Dill was going down to Shippies and doing all the bigger stuff and towing into some pretty heavy waves and surfing Choco and that. And he's like, oh, why don't you, you know, I started doing trips to the South Coast with Dill as a pretty young age, and the waves down there are a fair bit heavier than here, and get just that next level of, you know, solid heavy waves. And I really enjoyed the feeling of it. And I knew, and I guess I went to Hawaii too a couple of times with Margot as a young kid, and straight away I just enjoyed big Haleiwa, and I was itching to surf pipe, and would paddle out and sit on the corner of pipe at 15, 16 years old, and not really catch any, but just watch guys just going, I can't wait, I want to do that. It's obviously a bit crowded, and I'm kind of out of my league, but I really want to do that. And then I'd be surfing more Sunset and all those, which are huge, you know, big heavy waves for a kid, still big and heavy now. But yeah, and then I guess the competition thing was always something I was really focused on, and I was surrounded. My generation was insane for competition, and I was doing really well. Like, I was winning juniors, and I'm against, you know, the guy half the young, well, they're my age now, but say like Owen Wright, Julian Wilson, Geordie Smith, all that generation, Wade Goodall, and all these unbelievable surfers, and I was doing really well in amongst with them. And then, you know, that was I thought I was going to do contests forever. And basically Dill, there was that swell going to Shipsterns as a kid when I was 19, and Dill got me on that. He's like, we're going to Shippies, come with us. And, you know, I got on that, and then went and caught that wave at Shipsterns, the paddle one. And that basically changed my whole direction in surfing. I got a taste for the feeling of, you know, I'd won a few juniors and pretty big contests at the time against really good surfers, and you know, the feeling felt pretty cool. But when I caught that wave at Shipsterns, and the feeling of that wave was just like, this is what I want to do. I don't care about contests. I want to, you know, the feeling of, push myself, and just the feeling of riding a wave like that. It's like, you can't even, I mean, you know, you've ridden some waves like that, but you just can't describe it to people. And the addiction you get for it, or whatever, you know, it's just the adrenaline and the feeling is, I think, I don't know, for me, it's better than winning a contest. And after that, the direction really changed, and Billabong kind of said, do you want to go down the road of, you know, basically getting photos and surfing swells and chasing, you know, heavier waves, and basically just getting, you know, all about exposure back then. This is before Instagram and all this sort of stuff. And so I was just doing surf trips with photographers and going down that road. And I just really, I mean, it's probably an easier lifestyle if you can, but maybe financially it's not the way to go. But for me, it was like, you know, it just was what I wanted to do. I just wanted to find the, you know, that feeling of, say, the wave at Shipsterns gave me. And I just kind of, I took that path from about 19 years on, and that's the way it sort of went.
Yeah, it's amazing too, because you do go, like, Australia has such an amazing stepping stones. You know, they really make it not easy, but they give you a great opportunity to all the kids contests, and then you go into the state titles, national titles, world grommet titles, Pro Junior title. Like the Pro Junior series in Australia is like next level. You know, that's like you said. And if you're doing well in that, like, you're basically on your way to be CT level, you know, coming out of Australia. Sure. And like you said, you know, it's really interesting because Billabong at the time were probably really at the forefront, from my memory, like the movies that were coming out from them. And, you know, I don't know if at that time it was the Billabong Adventure division, but they had a lot of free surfers. You know, like Rasta had sort of stopped contests, and he was doing his thing. You know, you had Dylan doing his thing. You know, Margot was... You know, Margot was Margot. He was free surfing and, you know, like, not necessarily chasing swells, but he was sort of just everywhere on amazing waves. And then, you know, it's always amazing. There's one moment, you know, in that moment that, you know, you got a guy like Dylan, and I had Dylan's name written down because it seems like he's been a huge part and influence in the progression and, you know, your path in big wave surfing, not only from shaping surfboards, but being an amazing surfer himself, and then, you know, taking you under his wing. It's sort of like Dorian and Walsh, you know, like, I just did a podcast with Shane the other week, and he said, I basically got done with the CT and said, hey, I want to chase big waves. And Billabong were like, okay, no worries. And then, so he called up Ian and goes, hey, do you want to be toe partners? And sort of, you know, nearly the sort of the same way, you'd see all you guys at the same swells, you know, doing the same thing. And, you know, so what was that relationship like with Dylan? Well, and let's go to that first trip, because, you know, I had a certain few waves that I thought that probably were the waves of your life, or, you know, game-changing waves in career, you know, that you remember. And the Shipsterns one was one of the first ones, because you're 19 years old, you're on a trip to Shipsterns with Andy Irons, Parko, Dylan, you know what I mean? Like, and that's incredible. And, you know, I remember seeing the footage, like everyone's going for it, and, you know, and Andy's pushing it, but you end up, you know, chipping into that, the biggest paddle wave probably still to this day ever paddled, maybe, you know. And so just take us through that trip and that moment, because, you know, like, you've got the best surf in the world, you know, they're pushing you, and you're this 19-year-old kid trying to make a name for yourself. Take us through that.
I mean, I can still pretty clearly remember that day. Like, even just the feeling of getting down there, and it's cold air and everything's different, and wasn't that well traveled yet. So, I mean, to be surrounded by those guys was insane. And that's pretty much mostly all thanks to Dill for, you know, ringing me and getting me on there and telling Billabong, like, this guy charges. He's, you know, took him to the South Coast a few times, and and he just wants to go. So like, you know, and I guess I'd done I caught that wave at Backdoor the year before when I was 18, and yeah, I just anyway, I remember just going on that trip so excited, and Andy and Parko weren't actually down there. They got down late that night, and I remember just waking up in the morning to Andy there, just going, "Are you kidding me?" That's, you know, I knew Andy a little bit from Hawaii, but I was just like tripping that he was keen to come surf shippies. And anyway, back then it was a lot more mellower than today. So when I caught that wave, it was actually just me and Andy sitting out there, and today there'd be 20 people sitting out there. So I think that has a huge part to me catching that wave is, you know, you got the whole playing field with no one out, and you know what it's like in a crowded surf to not crowded. It's like you can be half a foot out of position and you're not catching that wave. So yeah, for me going down, I remember, you know, we were all paddling first in the morning. It was perfect for paddling, and there was some big waves coming through. Like as soon as we got there, Andrew Mooney towed into like a 15-foot huge wave, and we straight away jumped out, and Andy and Parko were straight in there, just frothing Dill. And I just remember, yeah, being the young kid on the trip going, what am I going to catch here? And anyway, like first wave came, and I guess I just was in that young go anything age, kind of I'm kind of in some way fearless at the moment at that stage of your life, just like, yeah, kind of just going for it. And my first two waves were just absolute floggings, and I just remember not, you know, getting pumped on solid waves and nothing happening kind of thing, and like, oh, I'm psyched. Like just, you know, that big wave was my fourth wave of the morning. So I remember, yeah, I can just remember the vibe and everything down there, everyone just hooting as soon as we seen the first wave come around the corner. And I don't know, it's just, yeah, so it's funny because today I'd probably pull back on that wave. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do. I was just that age, and just the whole day. It was one of those days that was, you could surf all day long. And yeah, the morning just so happened to be the highlight with the paddling stuff, and then it sort of turned into a towing afternoon. The wind got a little bit of texture on it, a little bit jiggly, but still pumping and big. And yeah, some sessions like that you only get a couple of hours and down there, and yeah, it was just one of those special all day days, and there was hardly anyone around, just a handful of the local boys, and Andrew Mooney was probably the only other guy from the mainland down there. And yeah, it was just our crew and a small crew, so it was yeah, really special day.
Yeah, epic. Do you think that moment, like at that stage in 19, like obviously, well, you finished high school and you sort of, you know, pro surfing's your path, you're getting paid, Billabong's paying you, and then I'm guessing that after that wave, like with Joel and all the boys there, Andy, that Billabong really probably was like, okay, like this, we got something with this kid, you know, like, and was that a moment as well where you went, yeah, this is exactly what I know you said it before, but this is exactly what I want to do. Like I'm gonna chase swells around the world and just put myself in those positions and just challenge myself.
For sure, that was just the addiction for finding big barrels was just it was at the top of my list in my mind from then on, really. And yeah, I kind of basically it set me up for what I wanted, the path I wanted to take, really.
Yeah, it's so funny because Australia, like, we don't have big, like, when I say big waves, we have big waves, don't get me wrong, but we don't have big paddle waves per se. Like, there's no real, like, so everyone's groomed, like, even like you look at guys like, you know, Kobe and Mark, like, at the start of what they were doing, Richie Vass, and then you've got like what Russell Björk's doing now, you know, everyone in Australia was groomed on slabs.
For sure.
You know, like slabs and then giant slabs, like paddling slabs, like Jughead and stuff in the Central Coast. You know, you're either paddling 6 to 8 foot slabs or 10-foot slabs, and then you're towing like Shipsterns or the Ride or whatever it may be. Like, there's very rare that you would grab, like, when would you grab a 9.6 somewhere in Australia and go and paddle out, right? Like, there's spots, don't get me wrong, but
for sure.
Back then, you know, and And at that stage, obviously coming to Waimea, coming to Hawaii, getting to surf Waimea, big sunset and all that sort of stuff, you get a taste for it. But it's such an interesting part that Australians take, because they're so good at those slabby style waves and so good at riding the barrel.
Yeah,
it's just they got to get that experience of like grabbing a big board and
for sure
paddling out.
That's one thing we definitely lack. I mean, like you said, there is some big waves to paddle and stuff, but it's all pretty much about the heavy slabs and paddling into as heavy, as big as barrel as you can, or once it gets to that certain size, the reef, it becomes too thick and you have to tow it. And I mean, for me, the feeling of barrels is just insane. Like, it doesn't really get any better when you paddle into a big, heavy barrel or tow into a big heavy barrel. Because at the end of the day, that's one thing. I never really did it for other people in a way. I just was always doing it for myself, and to this day I'm still doing it for myself. And just the feeling, whether there's a camera there or not or whatever, it's just like, this is what I want to do because it feels so good. But we definitely did lack. It would be nice if we did have a couple of or maybe a Jaws around the corner somewhere or whatever, because you can definitely tell the countries that are groomed to what they're surfing. And for us, like you said, Australia's, definitely, you'll see Australians shining in big heavy barrels because that's what we grew up surfing, where you'll see Hawaiians shining in, say, Jaws and Mavericks, and Americans, or, and then the island and European crew, they've kind of got a mixture of everything by the looks of things. And it's one place I haven't spent much time, but I mean, it would be epic if, that's one thing I haven't done as much of, is pick up a big board and surf, say, Jaws and stuff. And all that paddle movement kind of happened right as I lost my sponsor. And that was kind of, it is what it is. And it's the way it goes. The surf, there's not heaps of money in it for everybody. So I was just one of those people that kind of missed out on that whole opportunity of, I was 25 when I lost my sponsor, and it felt like, the crew had already been doing it, the paddling into big Jaws and all that sort of stuff, but it was really just taking off as I was basically just getting pushed out of the surf scene. So I kind of missed out on a lot of that, but in saying that, I don't regret anything in the way it's all gone.
Yeah, I mean, you had an amazing, let's look, when you were living in Australia and you're chasing swells, obviously you're looking at Chopu. I know you guys hit that every swell, and you've got obviously all the spots in Australia. You're always at Shipsterns and probably down in WA and that as well. Like, where else were you focused on? I know you spent a lot of time in Hawaii. You'd come for the winter. It's because back then, like you said, it was all about getting covers and getting photos. And being a big wave surfer, like there's no better photo than pulling into a 15-foot barrel of chopes and getting,
for sure.
So that to me, it looks like your focus is trying to go and find the biggest, beautiful barrels in the world, and
for
your
sure.
sponsors stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, Chopu was a place I definitely put a lot of energy into as a young kid. From the first time I went there, I just was blown away by how beautiful and perfect a big wave can get. And, those sort of waves are really appealing to me because you're only, you can really push your own limits of like a yes or a no legit call, where some other waves are kind of like, it's a gamble and you might, sell for life, or whatever, but say Chopu and those heavy reefy slabs, you can, you got a better reading, I think, of saying yes or no. Like when you're pushing yourself, it's like you're looking down the ledge and you're like, you can kind of, you can tell a little better, say, if it's too thick to paddle or whatever. So Chopu is just one of those waves for me that, where else do you get as big a perfect barrel as that place? I don't know. And that was just the direction, like I said, there's no better feeling than trying to get a big as heavy barrel and be as deep as you can and be surrounded by all that heavy water. It's it's hard to describe if you haven't had it. And
What about Code? They take us through Code Red, because I feel like that was another moment in your life where, I think Raymana had gone out super early and got pounded like really bad, and then sort of it seemed like it. And tell me if I'm getting the story wrong, but like sort of they shut it down for a little bit.
Yep.
People weren't going out. They're like, Raymana said, no, it's too dangerous, and shut it down. And then from what I remember seeing is there was I think, did you and Dylan were the first guys to go back out and then we start going again?
We were, but we had no idea because we basically were having troubles with the authorities with the jet skis who wouldn't let any of the Billabong skis out. So we had to go and tape up all the skis with black tape. And so by the time we got out there, it was 9 o'clock, and crew had already been towing, and you're looking from the channel from a distance going, holy, like just tripping out. We were actually the first boat to go out early in the morning and have a look at what the waves were doing. And early we were sitting there having a coffee on the jetty, and a boat's come past. He must have snuck through because the boat ramp was shut down by the authorities or something because the swell was so big. And this boat come and picked us up, and we went out and had a look. And the first thing I seen was a bodyboarder paddling into this, stupidest big wave, and he just was like a frog in a bat, like just airdropped like that wave of Dan Ryan's you've seen get around recently, and it's been going around you see it all the time. But he just was in the middle of the barrel, just no chance at all. And that was my first proper look. And we fanged back in and got all the jet skis and taped them up. And by that stage, it was 9:30, I think. And we had no idea that Raymana and the local crew had said don't tow right now because it's too dangerous. And we didn't, early in the morning, I guess it was lower tide or something, and everyone was going and just getting hammered by the West Bowl, and a couple of injuries had already happened, and it was ridiculously huge. Like I'd been there for big tow swells, and generally on the big tow swells there'll be one or two moments of just giant wave, like the wave of the day. And this day just had that feel like every wave coming in was the wave of the day. It just was, the ocean was so thick and just moving, and like an ocean I'd never really experienced. It was just insane how much power was getting around. And I don't know, we got out there at 9:30, not a soul in the lineup, and I see one peel through and do its thing, and I'm like, whoa, it's pumping. What's going on? Why is no one out here? Like, didn't ask any questions, and was like, dude, let's go. Like, and he's like, yeah, let's go. Do you want to go first? And I was like, oh yeah, or do you want to go? He's like, oh, you go first if you want. So yeah, it just happens that way. And I grabbed the rope, and straight away my first two waves were nice waves. And I didn't get hammered or anything. I didn't know crew were getting hammered, so I guess the tide was just starting to come right a bit more. And my first two waves were perfectly rideable waves, and from then on it just turned on.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when you look at the footage, it showed everyone was eating shit, and then you guys just went out and and obviously, wave selection's key in swells like that, and having a good
For
driver.
sure.
And obviously you guys had spent so much time there and you knew what you're looking at. But, both you guys, were driving each other into really, really good waves, good wave selection. It seemed like, they weren't maybe the mutant ones that were maybe unmakeable, and they weren't the ones that, but they were just those nice giant ones, but just perfect tapering off ones, and it was like, and I feel like probably everyone's like, these guys are making it look easy. And that's when everyone's like, okay, we're out there, because these guys are making waves, and but from that moment on, it seemed game on.
For sure. And that's the whole thing with the big waves. When you're doing it all the time, you don't want to, you don't want to go out and just go hell for leather and catch every single wave, and you end up getting hurt. And that's a huge part of my because I've had a heap of injuries from surfing. I don't know many people who haven't been injured surfing big waves, but I've had my fair share. And I really try and, especially places like that where there's so much risk involved, you really do want to be a little selective and not just go any wave and whatever. So yeah, like you just said, we spent a fair bit of time there and put our hours in to get to know the wave. And especially towing. I'd towed it a fair few times before that day, and I guess you just, you try and get as in tune as you possibly can with places like that. And that day it was all just going our way. Some days you're in tune and it just doesn't go your way as well. Yeah. So it's just the ocean. It's forever moving and you never know what's going to happen, but you definitely try your best to, every big wave surfer who's doing it day in, day out, definitely they're trying to pick their moments of, to come home safe and whatnot. So you're going for it, but you also,
I feel like
be a little selective, or else you're gonna.
Yeah, I feel like if you're not respecting the spot and the water too, like you're not respecting. If you think 100%. You're gonna go out to Chopu and just whip in any wave you can, like and get away with it, like you may get away with it that session, but if you keep taking that mindset to wherever you're going, like sooner or later, Mother Nature's gonna just give you a big beat down and go, hey, you gotta slow yourself down here and have a bit more respect, because it just can't keep like that.
Well, and that's exactly what actually kind of happened to me a few years later. When I'd lost my sponsor and hadn't traveled for 2 years. I hadn't been on a plane for 2 years. I just surfed at home and ended up getting a job and working on a job site, on a building site for the year I got dropped. We had our first kid, Isla, and so we had a house mortgage and whatnot. So I had to, straight away get a job basically, and I was straight into the building industry and making, not the best money, but got to keep the money coming in. So I didn't surf or go anywhere for 2 years, and then that Point Break crew hit me up to be a stunt double for that movie they made, and I was just like, you're kidding? Yeah, I'll do that. Like, get paid to go back to Tahiti for a few weeks and whatnot, and just so happened we're just going there to do all their underwater shots and just weird all that sort of stuff, and randomly that swell popped up, and I was just so unbelievably excited. I was just jumping out of my skin nearly, and exactly what you just said is you got to respect the place and just take it easy. And so long story short, that swell come in, and basically me and Dill got told, you guys have right away for this movie. Like, you guys can kind of get any set you want. And I was, had Romana and all these crew, like blocking it for us in some way. Like, and I was just like, you're kidding. We can, we could have, and it was pumping, like it was big and pumping.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just full out of the gates, just like first 2 waves, tried to get as deep as I could on my first one, just didn't make that one. Second one made an okay one. Third wave, and I had Laird bloody towing me, like, of all people. So like I got the best guy out there towing me into any wave I nearly kind of want,
Yeah.
Third wave, just warming up, but they're obviously filming and everything, because the whole idea was for me and Dill to do the doubles, which Bruce ended up doing with Dill because I hurt myself. But anyway, this third wave comes in. I've been, caught 2 waves, 20 minutes. Here comes a wave, and it was a bigger swell, and Laird's like, do you want to go it? And I'm like, yeah, go. And he's like, it's pretty west. And I was looking at it going, I can tell this is west as this one. You can tell a west one out there when you're towing. You can just see it. All the energy's going down to where the boats are. It's not hitting up the top of the reef. So it's quite easy to tell. And me being me, just hungry as anything, I went that wave off my own back, completely knowing that it was a west wave. And sure enough, I hit my head and off to hospital, and nearly almost killed myself. Nearly. I was really lucky to be all good, because I had the actual head, I got knocked out and sort of come to in the lagoon as Laird was coming to me. So I didn't get knocked out for long enough where I was going to drown or anything. I just got dazed and knocked out. But the scariest thing was I had something stabbed me through my neck and come out my mouth and just missed my carotid artery. And I didn't, to me it didn't, I was after it. I come to and I'm in the ambulance, like in a brace and stuff, because I had tingly neck and all that sort of stuff. So I must have hit my head pretty hard, but not knowing that. And it wasn't until the next day the doctor goes, you know how lucky you are? Like, he goes, you basically scraped your carotid artery. And I was just like, you don't know that at the time and whatever, but that's exactly what you just said. I was just rushed into it, and that's what happens.
Yeah, isn't that a great wake up call? Yeah, you can
100%.
Like I say it. It's happened to everyone. I mean, it's happened to me. It's like you go from hero to zero so fast. You're the man one day, and you know, especially on say like 2-day swells. You know, like those swells, like Mavericks or Jaws, and it's an incoming swell. It's getting bigger and bigger all afternoon. You go out, you're sending it. You're the man. You go home like, fuck, I'm the man. And then you go out the next day and just fucking eat shit bad and just hurt yourself on the rocks, snap your board, tail between your legs. And it's awesome. It's beautiful because you need it, you know, like that. You know, like, let's be honest, I say it all the time, it's like fucking big wave surfers have massive egos. It's just like a massive ego-a-thon that who can, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, when I say egos, I'm talking in the water. It's that competitive.
For sure.
It's that competitive, like, okay, like I'm feeling
you
good
want
today.
You want the best wave.
Yeah, I'm going to go out and try and get the biggest or best wave, you know. But but for you, like, and that's what I'm going through now a little bit too. Is like it's not your main. When surfing's not your main breadwinner, when it's not paying you and you've got the family at home and you've got a job and you go and hurt yourself, that's when you're like, Jesus, like what am I doing? Number one, I nearly died and I got my kid or kids. Yeah. Number two, now I'm out of work. Like, how am I going to pay the mortgage? But you love it, and it's who you are, and it's what you want to do, and you've got that chip on your shoulder because you're not getting sponsored anymore, and you know you're still probably in that back part of your brain, like it's maybe just one wave, and I'll get back on the program, you know, and it's the devil and the on the
for sure exactly what you're saying.
The devil on this side and the angel on this side. Yeah, don't go, don't go, don't go. You know, and
it's one thing people don't realize is the battle you're having inside your head. Everyone thinks, like there's that big wave surfer, he does, but like you just said, every one of us, I think, has that battle inside your head of the good and bad, and like the, second guessing yourself, and so that.
Well, tell me who's gonna, like, you're at Chopu, it's perfect, pumping waves, Raymana's blocking, Laird Hamilton's towing you, and he says, hey, you want this one? Like, who's like it's going to be a really strong-minded, strong-willed person to go, nah, you know what, I'm good on this one. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure. He was actually pretty like he called, like he's such a nice dude, that dude. He come and visited me and after the and feeling a little bit bad because he towed me in, but it's like that was the thing. It was completely my decision. And I guess like. There is all the ego and stuff, but I guess I have been a pretty mellow the way I look at it all, and I actually purely get stoked when I see someone get a crazy wave, because it's just like, wow, you've just done that's your moment kind of thing, and I got to witness that in some way, like and but then there is obviously the competitive when you go home getting nothing and everyone else has got waves, you're kind of like, I wish I got one kind of thing. But Laird, that whole decision was like, I think my I feel like before that I wouldn't have went that way. It's just because I had 2 years of nothing, of surfing fun waves here, I guess, like 4 foot, 6 foot waves, and then bang, there's a chopu swell, and I potentially have right away to catch whatever. I was just that was definitely all on me.
So what has it been like, Laurie, to transition out of, because I mean, I think it's universally known that we all know and think that you're still one of the best guys when the waves get heavy and barreling and just I was there the second cloud break swell, not Thundercloud, I was there at both of them, but I was there on that one where you guys came over, and I remember me and Billy gave you and Rossi, I think, the yellow toe board that you got your first couple of waves on.
Was that your board?
It was actually Billy's board, Billy Watson.
Billy's, sorry, Billy's board,
So we'd flown over, but I had a shoulder injury, and me and my other buddy Justin were there. So I was sort of going, like, if it looked perfect and makeable, like I was going to have a go. And then when I got there that first day or so, raw and like no one was making paddle waves like basically at all. So I was like, I'm just going to support, and I saw you guys, McCool get his wave, Ramon get his wave, and then but the special day was the next day, that when you got your incredible, you got a bunch of incredible ones, but specifically that one insane late drop to barrel, but like, that's what I'm saying, like it's, from getting dropped to sort of back to normal life, and then getting a chance to then go and, prove yourself again. Well, not even prove yourself, but just do it because you love it. And when the heart grows fonder, right? Because you don't get to do it as much. So
exactly, it seems like it. If you can get one of those moments and you don't do it as much, the reward just is way higher in some way, I guess. Where you see guys doing it, swell, and they're riding crazy waves on every swell, and straight away it's up on social media and whatever, but they have to do that because their sponsors are, they got that pressure on their back of their sponsor going, you do this, okay, what's next, and you see them doing it, and obviously they love it. But for me, I the way it's all changed and all of that social media stuff, and all, there's no chance for someone like me.
Probably wouldn't have suited your style.
Nah, not at all. Nah. Yeah. I wish Instagram was dead and all that stuff. I wish there was no such thing as social media. I'm one of those dudes. So, and when you want to chat, it's amazing because you do get to see what your friends in other countries are doing and stuff like that. But for it to be the be all and end all, and it's the same. I had a moment the other week where someone told me these things I had to do to get to this, to do that, and I just went, you know what, I'm done. Like I'm done. So he's like, no, you got to do this, and so I just went off of it. I went the opposite. I went, you know what, if that's what I got to do, I'm not willing to do that. I don't want to do it, and whatever. I'm sort of like taking the stance, that I'm not going to do that just to appease something to go and do something. It seems so ridiculous. You got someone that's like a real athlete that's actually in there doing it, that doesn't have the followers because he doesn't care about the followers, but then someone's willing to pay someone else that's going to go and pose for a photo that's not even the real deal, but has a following, and they're willing to pay that guy. And it's just like, I just don't get it. I just can't wrap my head around the whole it's a hard one, and it's definitely wouldn't have suited me, that's for sure. But
I feel like it's sorry, I was going to say, it feels like it's sort of, I feel like for big wave, I nearly feel like it should be reversed, right? Like, you come out of like pro surfing, generally you're a phenom as a kid, and you get sponsored early, and then you hopefully have a long career. But there's a lot of people that don't, they burn out, or they at times out, and they don't have anything to fall back on. They're 25 years old, or even like you can be a phenom at 16 and be done at 21, and you've just completely missed out on school or going to college or getting a thing, And I always feel like now when I look at guys that I see chasing swells all the time, that because I feel like you're in your prime at like 30 to 40 maybe for big waves, maybe not physically, but just the way you might.
I think your mind's a lot more switched on. You're a smarter surfer. Like, that's the one thing, even though I'm not doing a lot of it, my mind is just, I just feel obviously way different to my 20s. You feel like you're going to successfully ride more better waves than when you're young. When you're young, it seems like, you're getting those crazy moments, but you're also getting injured too. So
I feel like the people that have worked, saying this, not necessarily got sponsored, but they've loved what they've done, but they just kept on their path of working hard, and they may be successful in whatever they do. And now at an age where they're like past 30s, now they're able to fund their surfing. So you got all these guys turn up the swells, and you're like, how do you do this? And they're like, oh, well, I just worked my whole life, and now I'm in a position where I can pay for myself to go, and they're at all these swells. And you're like, well, you're now the way professional surfer is going to go because there's not many people getting paid to be professional big wave surfers.
Doesn't seem like there's not a lot of funds in it for the people who are creating the sport. If it wasn't for the surfers and the photographers, there'd be none of it going on. So it's kind of an unfair system, but it is what it is, and that's the way it goes. But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of in some way, the way it's all turned out is I'm pretty thankful and stoked because the year I did lose my sponsor was the year we had our first daughter, so I haven't missed a moment of my two kids in that special age from birth to now. I mean, it's always going to be special, but watching how quick they grow from little toddlers to little humans, that's pretty special. And I'm lucky that I got to stay at home. If I was sponsored and had that pressure, I probably would have missed a lot of that. So and I'm also stoked now. I'm partnered up and getting looked after by Neat Essentials, which is just a small company, a wetsuit company that makes a few bits and pieces, and they just they're really supportive of me and about doing it the right way, and no pressure at all. So I'm stoked with where it is, and I'm also now a qualified tiler. I have my ticket in tiling at I'm 33 now, and if that had happened now at 33 and jumped on a job site, it wouldn't be till I'm 40 that I'm actually confident in making my own money and whatnot. So it's all worked out all right.
Yeah, and because there was that. I want to go. There was that. You got that incredible wave at Cloudbreaker. I think we all thought it was going to be nominated, and this is it's a big part of where big wave surfing is going, and because I have really big dreams for big waves, and I've been working for the last 18 months with a partner of mine, and I really want to see the young generation have a shot at a career, sure. And your Instagram post that you did, to the WSL and all that after that was a good reminder about just the frustration and all that stuff. And I think a lot of surfers and a lot of people really were able to relate to that because they feel the same, and so just take us through that because I'm guessing at that stage there's still probably number one, you get right of the year. It's number one, you get some money. It's nice to get some money. Number two, again, there's a chance of potentially getting some help to get you to more of these swells, which potentially, things snowball. Once you get an opportunity, for sure. No matter what happens, they tend to snowball, and I'm guessing it's all
exposure driven. So
was that sort of the last straw for you, as in just getting your hopes up for something to happen, when sure. you get the wave. Do you think, is that the wave of your life? Do you think,
it's, unless I can better it, it's 100% the wave of my life, because I mean, I caught that Shipstern's wave and whatnot, which is just as big and everything, but I didn't get spat out into the channel on that Shipstern's wave. And even to this day, in my mind, everyone else is like, that wave's insane, you paddled, how'd you make that drop, blah, blah, blah. But in my mind, straight away, even as soon as I don't know if I could find footage, but I paddle up the boat, and wish I made it, kind of thing. So to me, 100% the Cloudbreak wave is the ride of my life at this stage. I don't know if I'll ever better it, but I still haven't lost the fire to surf those style of waves. And if there was a Cloudbreak, if we could travel, but if there was a Cloudbreak wave like that one, I would love to be there. So I still haven't lost the fire to surf as heavy big waves or whatever. So just the whole thing of that wave, I got that barrel, and the way it all happened, I hadn't ridden a wave like that in years, or been in ocean like that for a long time. And I also, the funny thing with that wave that's not on film, that's just a special moment for me, is after I got that barrel, I was Cloudbreak, beautiful long wall. Did a turn after that barrel, stood there for a second, did I just get, that was just ridiculous. And then, anyway, I did a turn, and as I did a turn and was cutting down or whatever, a school of flying fish just took off under my board and just took off into the channel, and I was just watching it going, what the just happened? I stood on that wave for as long as I could and just rode down the point, just tripping, just having a personal moment kind of thing, like not a soul around because all the boats are way out the back or whatever. And for me, that's definitely the ride of my life. Well, unless I better it, but
yeah, well, no, for sure. And it was awesome too, because was it maybe 2 years ago? I remember I was out at Jaws in the afternoon, and you had paddled out, and that was your first trip to Piahi and checking it out. And I was really stoked to see you there. I'd heard that you were coming over, and I was hoping to see you out there and take us through that, because I mean, I think that, you know, if I saw lots of, like, you know, I was the surfers rep, so between the athletes and the WSL for a few years, and so you always get people going, you know, Laurie Towner's got to be on the tour, and this guy's got to be on tour, and this guy, and then then you think about, like, I mind surf you, like what you would do at a big barrel. Like, I mean, I'm like, would love that wave, and who wouldn't love that wave, you know, like, but it's like one of those things, like, I was wondering your first impressions of, like, just jumping off the rocks, like seeing that thing in the raw, and then just feeling it and seeing it. You know, it must have been like, as a big wave surfer and doing what you've done, and then Jaws sort of being the pinnacle, you know, of big waves now, pinnacle. I would say, you know, like what was it like just checking that out?
It was, that all happened, you know, and that was when I basically, like I said, I transitioned from being a sponsored surfer into a everyday working man, and then Need Essentials, the wetsuit crew, picked me up to, like, you know, just go, you want to do a little bit of traveling and we'll fund you to get there. So my first trip for Needs was to Jaws, and it just so happened that Albie, I barely even knew Albie, just through social media, having a chat here and there, and he private messaged me saying, you got to come surf Jaws. And I was like, well, I'd love to. He's like, come stay at mine, everything, I'll look after you. And you know, what a legend for doing that. You know, I barely knew the guy, and now we're really good mates. And he basically, I just got on a plane. We had the biggest flat spell that year too. Like, it was Christmas time, and we had 2 months of ripples. It was as long as a flat summer we've ever had. And it was Chrissy, so I've probably been drinking beers and cruising and had no mindset. And then Albie messaged me going, "There's looks like a big Jaws swell, or good one, you know." And I was like, "Oh, I'm coming." And I told the Needs crew, and they're like, "Yeah, go for it. You want to do that? Are you sure you want to jump straight into that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just want to go see what it's, you know, what it's like." And I hadn't surfed any big waves for years, really. And basically, I just jumped straight in the deep end. So that trip for me, you know, I didn't ride anything crazy. I caught waves, so I'm stoked. I paddled out Jaws and caught a dozen or more waves. And for me, that's a feat. Anyone who paddles out Jaws on big days and catches a wave for the first time. So, but like you said, the experience of jumping off the rocks, having Albie next to me, like, that's, you know, who better to have than him, you know, jumping off the rocks and going, doing this, do that. And we had a warm-up surf, the Arvo, before that big day, and it was pretty beautiful conditions. And, you know, they're calling it small, and it was still 15 or 20 foot. Like, Jaws doesn't break until it's 15 or 20 foot. So for me, just even that was just an experience in itself, just paddling out going, wow, this wave's insane. And it is somewhere I'd love to put a little bit more time into in the future if I get the opportunity. And yeah, basically that ended up not being the best of swells. It was a bit of a, you know, funny swell, I guess, for Jaws. I haven't seen it perfect, like crew dream yourself and what I would, you know, dream for out there, those big perfect days. But the waves were big, like, it was huge. That morning when we paddled out, Albie and I were the first ones off the rocks, paddling out into the waves, and paddle past, and Twiggy sitting on the ski, and he goes, it's big, bro. And I'm like, why am I paddling out? And I'm following Albie, and he's just out there, and I'm thinking, if these guys aren't jumping off yet, it's what's coming in. Like, I haven't even seen a set yet, have I? And anyway, we sat out there and sat pretty wide, and I didn't catch no first wave or not. Like, I took my time to get a wave, and by that stage, everyone started paddling out, and then it became the Jaws show. And yeah, it was pretty cool to be in amongst it. And I was just stoked in myself that I was confident with no training or nothing, and being such a flat spell and hadn't done much traveling. I was really, for that trip, I was stoked in myself that I even just paddled out and felt comfortable sitting out in that sort of ocean. And I hadn't really been in that style of surf paddling around. Like I said, we grew up slab, chasing slabs, and the paddle stuff really took off. Like I said, when I sort of got steered away from the surf scene, and to just go out and feel comfortable sitting out there was epic. And it's something that's one thing in my mind. Like every surfer has, like yourself, would have personal goals and dreams and stuff, and mine is to put a little bit more time into those style of waves, and Jaws. I'd love to eventually get a few more cracks at it, even though it's busy and everyone charges these days. Even just to catch a couple more waves out there, I really want to do that. I don't need to be the guy at the top pushing my limits anymore. Like you said, we got kids, and you lose out on your job, you're injured, you're screwed. Basically, you go backwards, and so I hopefully we'll get a few more opportunities to surf places like that in the future.
Yeah, that's good. How you said, talking about being comfortable and stuff. But how would you, what do you think it takes to make a good big wave surfer? Like you said, there's so much people put emphasis on training and being in shape, and they're doing breath holds and this and that. And I think that's obviously, you want to encourage people to be safe and be fit and be in shape, but there's something to be said about the mental side, about you're like a really relaxed, calm guy. Nothing probably stresses you out too much. And I think, like if you look at guys like Ross Clark-Jones is a great example. He's not the most in shape guy in the world, but he's just so calm in hectic situations. And I think, I think that's a big misconception. Like you can be the fittest guy in the world, but if you're panicking and aren't comfortable and feel at peace with what you're doing, then I think that you're going to put yourself in that situation. You just said you'd barely surfed, you've been drinking beers, and here you are sitting out in Jaws and feel comfortable. So I feel like that's a good thing for the young kids to listen to.
100%. And Danny Griffiths from Tassie, he's another perfect example, like a Ross Clark-Jones style guy. He's like, sometimes it's huge chippies, and you've seen the waves Danny's caught out there, and he's had a bender the night before, and then he rocks up and he cracks a beer before he paddles out, or he gets a bomb and then goes and cracks a beer, and it's just like, what the man? Like, anyway, but like you said, he gets, you watch him get the craziest wipeouts, ride the craziest good waves, and he's just calm. He goes, oh man, I was pinned on the bottom that last one, but it wouldn't bloody let me up, just joking about it. And it's just like, there is that little bit of, you got to be completely in tune and whatever, but I think there is a little part of, you got to have a bit of craziness in your mind or something, because that same day another fella was down there at Shippies, and when Denny was going crazy and just charging whatever, drinking beers and just getting the worst wipeouts, nothing happening to him. But this other fella, Josiah, was real hesitant to go out, and it was maybe a little out of his league, and he was with Mikey Brennan and myself, and he ended up hitting his head first wave on not a very big wave. And it's just like, I don't know, you have moments in the ocean that it's like you're meant to be where you are. And I guess that's what's so cool about surfing. You're so connected to nature that it feels like, in your head when shit's not going your way, and when you can sort of push it and whatnot. But I feel like, we've all got this little bit of craziness in our minds that works, and then sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. It's hard to explain what I'm trying to say.
I just think it's and I sort of try and instill in my daughters, even at a young age. It's like, I go, if something feels wrong, genuinely, it is wrong, right? Like if you've got a weird feeling in your stomach, if you're second guessing yourself, if you've got that like any sort of doubt, then I think you got to listen to your intuition, listen to your instincts. And because I know from firsthand, like not doing it, I've gone out and have hurt yourself, or have done something silly, and you've gone out and done something stupid and got away with it, and then you come back and go, oh my God, like I know I shouldn't have done that, and I just got a free get out of jail free pass, like give yourself a slap across the head, and go, listen to your instinct, listen to your gut feeling, and I think that can go a long way as well. Oh,
for sure. And that's the whole that comes into that mental battle in your head. So there's a lot more going on in surfers' minds when it's big than just paddling out and catching a crazy wave and going home and it's all over. Is every wave that someone's caught that's crazy has a story. So yeah,
for sure. So hey, if you ever want to come to Mavs, I open invitation as well, like Albie. I can
epic.
I'd love to see a surf Mavs, and I got me and young Luca Padua, who's the young goofy footer local kid out there who charges. He's we got a ton of boards. I got my jet ski at his place. He lives just across the harbour there. So if you ever want the open invitation, that'd be cool to see you out there.
That would be cool, and I'm hopefully, in the future I get a few more opportunities to go and surf a few more spots. And another big part of me being a surfer is I'd love to try new spots, and especially now as you're getting older, it's like there's so many waves out there, and I got the ability to ride these waves, and they're like, I've never even been to that place, and it's it'd be epic to tick off a few more spots like there for sure.
Yeah. What's before we go, I feel like you're a great example of sort of what is happening in the surfing world now. You're a prodigy, great future. You get everything. Sort of get the golden ticket through. Your teenage years. Think it's going to last forever. You get the knock on the door. Hey, it's done. It's over. You got a kid coming. Mortgage on the house. Shit. What do I do? And you're in the prime of your career. So what? If someone was to come to you now and said, "Hey, Laurie, what should I do? I want to be it doesn't even have to be surfer, but because we're surfers, I want to be a big wave surfer. Should I? What would be your advice? Knowing what you know now, what would be your advice to someone that wanted to, try and make a career in, big wave surfing or surfing?
Maybe, if it was from but I guess then you're taking a little bit of focus off that thing, but maybe have some sort of backup plan, because big wave surfing is not, for a handful of guys, it's their career and they've made hell money out of it. But 90% of us, it's not that story. And I guess, probably thinking about something to back you up. And if it does go that way, like it did for me, just keep smiling. Don't let it give you depression or anything gnarly like that. You have your battles in your head, and for me at 25, 26 and losing that and jumping straight onto a building site, building houses and as a labourer, it's a mental head, and nobody's really seen that except for my partner Bron, and just don't let it get you down or whatever. I guess what I'm trying to say is think about a backup plan, because but again, if it's it is your dream and you've got a solid head on your shoulders, chase it, go for it, and just see what happens.
I think you gotta you never want to tell anyone to not chase their dreams and go after it, but I think that
for sure
you've got to have that something. I've always now it's like, if you earn your own money and you can pay for your trips because that's what you love to do, right? Instead of going, to Bathurst 1,000 and spending $3,000 on a weekend, like you go to Hawaii, or you go to Jaws, or you go to Europe to surf Nazaré if that's what you want to do. But and then you're on your own program. No one's telling you you've got to go. No one's telling you you've got to get a 100-foot wave or a 20-foot wave. It's like you're just going and you're getting what you want to get because you love it. You're on your own dime and you don't have anyone telling you what you can and can't do.
Yeah, I think to just chase your own personal, your own personal expectations. Stick with that, and don't don't expect, just chase the feeling, and don't. I don't know. I'm so laid back in that sense. I'm not social media driven, none of that stuff. So for me now, it's really just if I go to a place, I obviously don't have anything to prove anymore, and if sponsors pushing me or whatever. But for me now, it's go there for your own personal experience. If you're a young kid and you want to charge big waves, go and try and catch those waves that you want, but really, really enjoy that moment when you ride those waves, or if you get yourself a crazy bomb, just enjoy it, I guess. Like, don't take it for granted and go, what's next? Like, because I think that's, as I got older and experienced, like I said, that cloud break wave for me, not having, surf those style waves, like, just made it so much more special and something I'll remember to the day I go, die or whatever. It's like, it's definitely big waves for a lot of us is a personal journey, and it's not to be the best and win all the contests and get paid the most and look at me, I'm killing it kind of thing. It's kind of, it's just like you said, it's a feeling that you're chasing that you can't it's the best feeling.
Do it for the right reason. Do it
for the right reason.
Do it to knife a drop at cloud break, pull up, get barreled, stall, get barreled, get spat out, and then have flying fish go onto your board, and then have a out of body experience. Like that's what realistically we're all chasing, is that it's so personal that you just kick out and you're like, that was like, what was that? That was the best thing ever.
And I think as the generations go on, there's going to be so many, as already now, like the last 10 years the amount of amazing big wave surfers, and what you do when you flick on your phone and see what people are doing, there's so much of it now it's almost getting desensitizing in your brain. Like, so I don't know, just go and do it for yourself. Don't go and do it to, I'm the man kind of thing. I don't know. It's so many good surfers and people to look up to, and just do it for yourself.
Yeah, cool.
Best thing I can say.
That's good advice, man. It's really good advice from one of the best. So, all right, we're gonna. I usually finish the podcast with a couple of questions. I call it 5 to finish, and we'll hit it with that. So, the best big wave in the world.
Jaws.
Jaws, yeah.
Yeah.
Scariest or heaviest big wave?
I guess for me, Chopu, or maybe Shipsterns is pretty. No, I'm gonna say Chopu. Yeah.
What's one big wave you haven't surfed that you would like to check off the list?
I'm gonna go with Mullickmore.
Yeah. Cool. Good answer. Most underrated big wave in the world.
Most underrated big wave in the world. Far out. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. Maybe.
Yeah.
I
think it's. I think it's Cloudbreak.
Yeah, well, exactly. Actually,
because it's the best. It could potentially be the best big wave in the world, but because we don't see it every year, I think it gets forgotten about. But if you look at,
100% is Cloudbreak, because I fell on 2 waves in that swell, and I looked at the footage, and compared to some of the other guys' falls, it was nothing. Like it looked like nothing, and both waves wanted to hold me down for 2 waves. It's just that you got those inflation vests nowadays that I was under, and like I said, on the footage, it didn't look like anything gnarly. It was still a biggish wave, and I was holding off, pulling my thing because I felt like I had the breath in me, but I was like, if I don't pull it, I'm gonna have a 2-wave hold down. Sure enough, I pulled it, popped up, and the wave's right there in my face, pushing me back down. So, and I can't even imagine some of the other guys' hold downs that swell, because guys were falling on psycho big waves. I did hear a guy had a 3-wave hold down that swell. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know. I couldn't last a 3-wave hold down, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't think many people could.
No, I don't know if that's just a story or what. Yeah. I mean, Cloudbreak, you're right. It is for sure. Because it seems like it can hold as big as it gets.
Yeah, it's a crazy wave. And then where do you think the next big wave discovery is going to be? Like a wave that just pops out, that's just the next Nazare or the next Jaws or whatever it may be. Where do you think that could potentially be?
Oh, I'm going to have to say, here in Australia. The bottom of Australia is so untouched, and it's so sharky, and some of the waves are just almost inaccessible. But for the keen person that eventually stumbles across it, when it's the ocean's as big and clean as it gets, and they've traveled miles to get there, I feel like we've got untouched gold. But whether you got the funds and whatnot to get there, it's the whole, you know, that's a whole different story. And I'm going to say here in Australia.
Yeah, that's a good answer, mate. Good way to finish the podcast. Well, Laurie, it was awesome chatting, mate. And like I said, if you want to test out those Need Essential wetsuits and some cold water at Mavericks,
epic.
Reach out, mate. I'd be stoked to get you out there, and hope to see at Jaws and wherever. You know, I'd be stoked to get some water time.
Heaps. Yeah, cheers, Jamie. Thanks heaps for that.
All right, buddy. Thanks, mate. See ya.
Cheers. Thank you. See ya. Bye.